Chapter 17. Andres. The light above Andres flickered on and off as he dialed the number inside the payphone booth. It only took one ring before a distorted voice answered on the other side. "What do you have for me?" "You must take me for an idiot," Andres said into the receiver. The voice stayed silent. "You thought I wouldn't find out?" Andres pressed. "That the girl you sent me to scout is Adriana Moldovan, the daughter of the deceased King Luca?" He hoped to keep his voice steady, but he was heated. As of tonight, this job was an underpaid one. "I don't know what you're playing at, but the price of this job has gone up," he hissed. There was no answer, which only served to frustrate Andres even more. "Did you hear me?" he exclaimed, losing his patience. "I will be wiring you the rest of the money. Your services are no longer needed." "Excuse me?" Andres shouted. But all he heard on the other end of the line was a click. He was disconnected. Furious, he attempted to dial the number again, but there was no answer. He slammed the phone into the box with enough force to break it. As if that weren't enough, he proceeded to kick down the booth door, breaking it in half. Andres had been cheated. That was the only way to explain what had happened. He had been hired by some anonymous vampire, he was sure it was a vampire now, under the guise of investigating the rumored duo El Toro Rojo y la Bruja de Plata, only to find out that the Silver Witch was Adriana Moldovan, the daughter of King Luca, who was supposed to be dead. The amount of money he could be making off this job right now was ridiculous. He could go straight to King Mikhail and tell him what he knew, and they would reward him beyond his wildest dreams. Maybe King Mikhail would even gift him with an estate of his own. Though Andres was excited by the prospect of glory and riches, he was not stupid. He knew he would have to come to King Mikhail with hard, cold proof. After all, no one would want to believe that King Luca's daughter was alive, as her mere existence could pose a threat to his rule. If Andres wasn't careful, it would be his head on the chopping block in this transaction. What should he do? Kidnap her? Bring her to Mikhail as proof? Traveling with Princess Adriana from Mexico all the way to Romania did not seem like a smart decision. Not to mention it was too dangerous. What would happen if she escaped? It was unlikely, but Andres had to consider all the options. The more he imagined it, the more he disliked the idea. But what could he do? He needed to bring King Mikhail solid proof of his story. A bargaining chip that would be undeniable. Then suddenly an idea struck him. Her eye. Only noble vampires have red eyes. If he could just... He made a grabbing motion with his thumb and index finger. Pluck it out, he could present it to King Mikhail as undeniable truth that he knew the whereabouts of King Luca's successor, who apparently was still alive. Yes, of course, that was what he had to do. He would have to pluck out that pretty little eye of hers, then hold her somewhere in Mexico. Somewhere no one would find her. The thought came to him instantly. He could just bury her. She wouldn't die. She would just dry up a bit. He might even leave her with one bag of blood to sustain her while he made the trip. After all, he didn't want her too dried out. He still wanted King Mikhail to recognize her. Andres smiled widely at his plan. All that was left was probably the most challenging part of his venture, plucking out that little eye of hers. How would he do it? How would he corner her? A scared boy with sunshine blonde hair flashed across his mind. That's right, Andres grinned. He had been so focused on the bigger picture that he had forgotten about that small, insignificant human. He remembered the way Adriana had looked at him, fear in his eyes as they both flashed up to the boy. He had beaten her to him, and Andres was surprised. But once he saw her ruby-red eyes, he understood. She was noble, and thus stronger and faster, which is why the boy was his key. He would use the Del Toro boy to get to her, to do his bidding. Maybe she would even cut out her own eye and present it to Andres. The thought made him laugh cruelly all the way home. He truly was the luckiest.